question is, while evaluating city government, all opportunities should be considered, including city commissioners and city managers. That's more of a council question, I think. It says, will all types be considered?
Diane can answer that. You can do that.
Those are different forms of government.
That's Diane.
Yeah, I think the point was that there are different forms of government, and you can consider any of them or combine them through a charter.
Mr. Nunley, who do you work for? It's my understanding you work for an organization that promotes city management form of government. Is this correct?
No, I work for the city of Manford. Prior to that, I worked for the city of Granite. I always say the city of Granite because there's a prison there, and I hate to say I'm from Granite, but it's kind of like being from McAllister. I've never received a penny from the City Managers Association other than they pay my mileage. They do not pay meals. They do not pay me. I left my office at 2:30 today to pick up Pam in Glenville. We came down, drove around the town. My council approves of me doing that because they know I'm helping cities at no cost to those cities. So I work solely. My contract does not allow me to work outside for pay, but it encourages me to be in every organization that helps promote cities and to work with cities.
I'm trying to read all of these and so that everyone has a voice here. So if some of them are redundant, I just don't want anyone to feel left out. What is the average educational and experience level of city managers and city mayors?
I don't know the mayor's part. City managers, I would say there was no education courses for city managers in the colleges until recently, because our organization kept going saying we have to get some education. The rule of thumb is the majority of cities are about 50-50 on we'd rather have experience than education, because the education doesn't help if you don't have the experience to really do it. So I would say at this point probably 60 to 75% have degrees, and I do have a chart on experience. 73% of our city managers right now have been in the same location for 5 to in excess of 25 years. And the odd one is cities of 20 to 25 years or larger is almost 12% of all of them. And total years of service, over 10 years is between 10 and 30, there's some older ones out there, is going to be about 86% have between 10 and 30 years of service.
I'm going to throw a question here. Can you each tell us what your education is and where you got your experience?
I have a bachelor's degree in education. I taught science for 8 years and coached girls basketball. Then I worked at a bank for 9 years. Then I just farmed for quite a few years. And then I became a mayor, an administrator, and a city manager, and I've done that for 14 years. So that's where I am.
I worked in the fine dining industry and accounting for a number of years in Atlanta, Georgia. While I was there, I finished up my master's degree in public administration from the Andrew Young School of Policy Studies. And then I made it my career to be in government. I was a city planner for many cities in the state of Georgia for a long time, and then I accepted the position in Shawnee, Oklahoma here 5 years ago, this last February.
And I've already told you, Mom, that my bachelor's in management and business with a master's degree in business. But I worked at Southeastern State University in Durant. That's where I got both my degrees. I'm from Southeastern Oklahoma originally. Worked at the college for about 12 years before we moved out to Mangum.
I've got a bachelor's from OU with public administration with an emphasis on urban management. I've got a master's degree from Northern Illinois in public administration with an emphasis on urban management. I've worked in Illinois, Pennsylvania, and Oklahoma, in communities as small as 3,500 and as large as 95,000 with the city of Lawton. I've got probably 22 years of experience in municipalities.
All right, I've got a degree in dairy food science, minor in biology from Oklahoma State University. I've had some classes. I continue to take continuing education. I've taken education classes at Tulsa University. I'm always taking classes. I'm certified. I'm floodplain manager. I take GASB classes, accounting classes for GASB. One of the things about being a mayor right here is you never quit learning. There's always classes that you have to go for because accounting systems, the auditing procedures, they change from year to year and all the time. And if you do something wrong, you're going to be held liable and you can go to jail for it. So the thing of it is, it's continual education, and I take continual education, and it's through the Oklahoma Municipal League helps guide me on those programs. Now, I will say, when you look at what you just said about experience, I've got 10 years experience as a mayor, okay? I'm probably one of the longest tenured mayors. Jeff Shockley at Poto has a lot of tenure as mayor. Mike Brown of Woodward has a tenure as mayor. Those three right there, and if you go back and look at our sales tax, what we've done since we've been there, because we care and we've been dedicated. If you look back and see what we've done in those few years, we really made those towns grow. And we're all elected officials. We all draw a good salary. But that could change again. That could change tomorrow if you elect the wrong person.
This question is, can you tell us some of the things from Manford, that Manford has to offer? And I think you've already kind of covered all of that. So. Mr. Nunley, somebody wants to address you. They must have been there when you were here before. I don't appreciate your negative comments about our community from the last meeting. You know nothing about this unique town, as each town is unique. You suggested we cut city employees, particularly the police department. How can you possibly make a statement like that without knowing anything? Have you visited with our police chief? We have our own unique circumstances here.
Okay. Cities are unique in the fact of their location, around a lake, things like that. But in that, all cities are the same in their business. The business is, we deliver service. Take in sales tax, we take in utility dollars, we deliver a service. Every city loses money in police, they lose money in fire, they lose money in streets, they lose money in parks, they lose money in libraries, they lose money in administration. They have to make that up in utilities and sales tax. There's always been a rule of thumb in the city business, and it can go back, and Jimmy can tell you how far it goes back because he's been in it a long time also. About 1 employee per 100 citizens. I'm a town of 3,300. I should have 33 full-time employees. There are some different parameters to that if you have additional utilities. I have 31 full-time employees in a town of 3,300. I have 3 electrical workers that most cities don't have their electric. I have 2 natural gas. Most cities don't have natural gas. I have 1 ambulance director because we have our own ambulance. We have our own activity center, indoor heated pool, weight rooms, everything. I have 1 full-time there. I have a library that we are full-time. We have 2 there. So I have 9 of those 31 are things that most cities don't have. Cities our size. Now, the comment was that you all are unique, and probably because of the lake. I'm completely surrounded by Keystone Lake. Prior to me getting there, and I don't know why, they annexed in every bit of the Corps land they could find. And it was told me that way we can help the Corps fight fires. So that didn't help a lot. So we go about 6 miles north and south, and we go about 7 miles east and west. and some of it doesn't have roads in it, but we have to police it, fire and ambulance. So we're unique also. I think I'll let the others address that also, because I don't think in our city management we consider it to be unique if we go from one town to another. Pam went from Mangum to Collinsville, I went from Granite to Manford, and the day we got there, it was a city, we knew how to run it. So I'm gonna let Pam address that. She's very similar to the same side.
Real quick, don't pass me over. Before I came to Shawnee, I was the manager of a town of 1,500 people during the day. And I had 19 employees. Only one police officer during the day. But our population burgeoned to about 4,500 people at night because we had a university of 20,000 people down the street, and we were the entertainment district for them. So at night, I had any night 5, 6, 7 officers on duty. So we were unique in that we needed to make sure that we kept the peace at night while all of that activity was going on. So very much so, each community is different. You can't just put one size fits all on.
Which is very true. Collinsville is, when I got there, the population was, the last census was about 4,077. We're close to 6,000 now. We're really, really growing. In Mangum, we had an airport, 2 cemeteries, a hospital, a chemical dependency unit. But we were landlocked. There wasn't a lot of growth. But so when I looked at Collinsville, I thought, well, wow, they don't have all these things. I'll be less busy. But that wasn't so, because all I did was trade it for development and, other issues. Because I said, in a small town, you wear many hats. So, I also do economic development. So we're always working on the retail. We have probably 60 full-time employees, so I'm right at that number. Police department, we have the chief and 10 full-time officers, but we're also full-time fire, and we have a fire-based EMS service, so we run our EMS service with our fire department personnel.
And I would probably say each community is different, depending on the services that they provide. Some communities rely and have many more parks, so they have more green space they have to mow. Some have a higher crime rate, so it's really dependent upon the community and the manager working to establish with the council what those priority issues are. You may have enough police officers, you may not have enough police officers, you may have too many police officers. There are things you need to look at. One of them is population. One of them is service calls. What are the types of service calls that you're getting? When are you most busy? Are you actually allocating the resources of the manpower of the police department correctly? The chief does this every day. I'm sure he does a fantastic job in allocating the 18 officers that you all have. He probably would like 2 more. I have yet to meet a chief in any state that I've ever worked in that doesn't say they need to double their police department. Or a fire chief that says he couldn't use more officers. You talk to the public works director, you talk to the parks director, they all say they need more employees. But then it comes down to economics. The value that you're paying your employees to ensure that you get qualified employees that stay and give back to the community. That's your threshold. What's that number? It's really up to each individual community and the services that they're providing and the level of salaries that they're wanting to ensure that they're paying those employees. And that's where you'll get your number of employees.
I'd just like to say too, Collinsville is also a municipal power city. So in those cities, and when we're the city manager, we're also the general manager of the utilities authority.
One of the things, we're 9,865, what our population is. We own our own electric, water, gas, and sewer. We have a golf course that actually makes 150 to 200,000 a year, okay? It's self-supporting. I don't know any golf courses that make money, okay? We have a recreation center. One of my goals is, when I look at it, and the chief and I will argue about this every year, I try to make sure that I have certified officers on the street. I'm not talking about my manager's salary. 500 to 1. For every 500 citizens, I have 1 officer on the street. Sure, I could use more, but one of my goals is that I want to make sure that the city of Pryor, when you look at the city of Pryor and you look at the OML, salaries and benefits guidelines. Towns 10,000 and below, and I take out Nichols Hills because they're an anomaly. I want to be in the top 3 salaries and benefits, and that pay, and that's what they have. And so I want to be top 3 cities paid in salaries and benefits for my employees. And that's where I'm going to stay, because, and in that way, if I have to, I'm not. If we get down to make more money, then maybe I can hire some more officers. Maybe I can pay them a little more money. But that's what we do. I pay 100% like Mike. I pay 100% of my insurance. My insurance for my employees costs me $1,465 a month. Full insurance. What it costs? You tell me. It gets expensive. I add more people, it costs. Okay. You know, the top end of my regular patrolman is about $50,000 a year before benefits. Top end of my fireman's about $45,000 before benefits. So I try to be in that level, and I look at it as economic-wise, but I try to judge it that way. That's what I try to do.
Just talking about county dispatch, so it really isn't first. What is the primary reason you think most cities are changing to city manager model? Number one.
Why? I'll answer that. Just like what I said. You can elect town drunk. You know, the bottom line is you can elect people out to the town drunk. You want to, and they can be the mayor. And you can be that way. That's what I'm saying. You've got to look at it. Now, you're saying that you won't, but you could. You know, it's happened. I'll just tell you right now, that's one of the reasons why they went away from the police chief being elected, because there was a community in Oklahoma that elected the town drunk as a police chief. Put him on the ballot. Now you've got to have fleet certification, they've got to have fleet requirements. You've got to be careful. I'm not saying everybody's dumb, but you can do that, okay? That's what I'm saying, be careful. I'm not saying what form of government's right for you, what form of right that you want or not want. But when you look at it as a whole, you've got to look at it what's good for the community, what's going to be good for, not today, but 5 or 10 years down the road. Because when you're passed away, I'm 60 years old, and in 10 years, I won't care. You know, I'll be 70, and hopefully my wife and I'll be doing something else. But when you want to leave the community a better place than it was when you started, and that's what you're after, 100%, whether it's city manager, charter form of government. Now, I will tell you, now these guys will disagree with me. There's only one area that I disagree with on, and they'll disagree with me on this one, on the city manager form of government. And this is me personally, okay? I believe everybody ought to have the right to appeal before they get fired. Because I can come in with a bad day, and when you do, you need to put that in the charter. I can come in with a bad day and fire somebody. I think you ought to have a right to appeal. That's me personally, because I've worked around enough people, and I know how I am sometimes. I'm as high-strung, and I'm as I can be just as squirrely as anybody else. And sometimes I may have something go wrong with me, and I may not have a good day, and I may pop off and fire somebody, then I have to hire them back. You know? But that's what I'm saying, is that's the only thing I think we need to do appeal process I have to look at.
And we have that process in our town. So by ordinance, it's in there, they can go before a committee that isn't picked by me or any of these people. It'll have council members on it, it'll have other people. Ours has a doctor or a lawyer in town. Sometimes we can't find a doctor. We always have a doctor, we can't find a lawyer. We don't look for them real hard. But a lot of cities by ordinance has voted that in. We have to give them in writing why we're terminating. They have a chance in 10 days to send a letter to our clerk, who then sets a date for the group to review the appeal. That's not a problem.
In 21 years of doing this, I've never popped off and fired anybody. I've sent them home for the day, but I've never popped off and fired them. Ours is a little bit different. You're a good guy, we know you are. Ours is a little bit different. It's not set by policy. It is set by policy. It's city manager policy. And what I do is I put together a jury of their peers. They then have the ability to go to the council with it, but it rarely gets to the council level because they've got to have certain things in a row. And then basically the way it works is I assemble a staff that goes ahead and reviews that particular situation. Then I have the ability to either agree with the staff that brings back a recommendation to me, or disagree. If I disagree with the recommendation, then it can go to the council and they can make the decision, but that hasn't happened in 15 years.